So hello everybody, in this video we are going to talk about the static keyword within the same class, means how static keyword may create certain issues when you are dealing with the methods as a static member in your class. So I have created just a small program. Here I have created this class test. Here we have a method A. It is a non-static method. The another method is void B, it is a static method. So this second method is static method. So here this static method is there, this is a non-static method. So let us understand how static method may create certain problem, right? So basically what is the rule here? Within the class, what is happening from any non-static scope? When I say non-static scope, it means any block which is non-static, which is not declared static. It may be a method, it may be a constructor, or it may be an initializer block. Three types of blocks, or maybe a non-static nested class. So from a non-static scope, you can access static as well as non-static members of same class directly. When I say directly, directly means without any object. Within the same class, you don't need to use object reference to access static or non-static members within the same class. But from a static scope, and when I say static scope means it may be a static method, it may be a static nested class, or it may be a static initializer block. So from any static scope, if you want to access the other members of the same class, so static to static you can directly access, but static to non-static you cannot access directly. Within the same class, if you have to access the non-static member of your own class, you have to use object reference. So let us understand here. Currently I am in, let's say I am calling from this method C. So C is what? C is static or non-static? Obviously it is non-static. So from this non-static scope, I want to access A. A is in the same class, so I can directly access A. I can call A directly, right? This is non-static to non-static, right? Similarly, if I want to access this B, so method B is what? Static, but we are calling from non-static. So non-static does not create any kind of restriction. From non-static scope, you can access static as well as non-static members directly. It means I can call B also without any problem, non-static to static. So this is the ease. Within the same class, non-static scope, we are accessing non-static member direct access, we are accessing the static member direct access, no problem, fine. But suppose from a static scope, now we are trying to call these functions A and any static function, so it will be creating the same restriction that I have discussed. What is the restriction? Static to static you can access directly. For example, I am creating one more method here, static void D, right? Let's say from this B I want to call A, right? I want to call A. So B is a static scope. From this static scope, I want to access a non-static member. So static to non-static, can you access it directly? No, you cannot access. How you will access? We'll discuss little bit later. But from this static scope, I want to access this static method. So static to static, you can access directly. There is no problem. So from B, how will call D? You will directly write here D, and D will be called, right? So static to static directly you can access, without any problem within the same class. But from static to non-static, now I am saying I have to call A or I have to call C. So how you will call? You will have to follow the same procedure as you were calling from other class. Means you have to use the object reference even inside the same class. You are calling from within the class, but because from static you are calling non-static, you have to create the object of your own class and then you have to call it. Right? So if I have to call A, so how will call A? You will create the object of your own class. It means you have to write here test obj is equal to new test, and then you will call A here obj dot A. This is the correct way of calling the non-static member of your class. It may be a non-static data member also. If you will try to write something like this, instead of this, if you will try to write directly here A, so this is compilation error. It will give you some compilation error saying non-static function A cannot be called from the static context, right? So this is quite clear that if you are using a static method inside the class, static to static directly accessible, but static to non-static you have to use the object reference to access even inside the same class. So this is the restriction, and please mind it, it is very important. Why? Because you are dealing with the main function and main function is static. So any other function that you are going to call will be generally non-static. So that's why when you will be calling from main to some other function within the same class, you have to be careful, right? And why main function is declared static? What property static gives you? Static gives you the property that any static member from outside the class can be called directly without the object. So main function is called by JVM. JVM is in your C drive, program files, Java, JDK, bin. So from there it is calling the main function. So that's why main function is declared static, so that you can call the main function, means JVM can call the main function without creating the object of your class. How main function will be called by JVM? You will be passing the name of your class, JVM will write class name dot main and it will be called, right? So this is all about your static keyword. Thank you.